Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Business Day Focus 4.0 conference in partnership with Adapt IT, the CRM team, Payfast, Cloud ZA, University of Pretoria, Fixed Mobile Telecoms, Tshwane University of Technology. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. My name is Nastasia Arendse, and I will be your host for today. So in a world that is developing with so much unprecedented change, it seems to be that South Africa finds itself at digital crossroads, so to speak. So it'll be the businesses that evolve and adapt to all of these changes that thrive. But the question we're trying to answer today is, well, how do you go about it? And then we have Edouard du Plessis, who is the CEO of Fixed Mobile Telecoms. We have left the love seat for you.
You've got the spot.
Edouard, let's come to you here. There's a lot of noise in terms of what to take on, what to, bring into the organization, and it changes all the time. How do you filter through the noise, and what are you seeing when it comes to what companies are grappling with in trying to filter through the noise and finding what's right for them?
Sure. So there's a lot in that space. I think when companies face new technology, they have to consider a couple of things. Obviously, there's a cost impact. There's an investment into the new technology. There's potentially an adoption problem where there's resistance to take on this new technology. We spoke about skills extensively. Skills and training is a major element that needs to be addressed, and ongoing training. And if you go more to the technological side of it, you sit with things like security. I don't think we've seen more security bridges like in the last couple of years. And what happened in the last couple of years were all these cloud-based things and SD-WAN things and all sorts of different technologies that companies use. And it seems like they're not getting the security aspect of it right. So those very things that are part of the disruptive strategy comes to bite them somewhere else because it wasn't securely put it somewhere in the cloud. And then you have, I think, two aspects that go hand in hand. One is a vendor lock-in. So to what extent does the vendors allow you to cross-function with other vendors? How does this technology interoperate with that? And I think the rapid rate of change that we see in this space certainly impacts it to in a big way as well.
Edouard, the understanding of the why.
Well, it's a big question. Yeah. Simon Sinek is apparently the guy to ask. But I think there's two aspects here. One is the why of the organization who is developing the tools, the disruptive technology, if you like. What is their why? They're going out to supply this and make it available to their customer base. How much do we think about their why? The people that we are selling to, what is their why? Is it because Henry Ford thought the Model T Ford will be better than a faster horse? Yes, sometimes we need to get him over that first hurdle. But do we actually listen to what our customers want to say? And what do they want? And we need to understand that. And yesterday morning, I had this most amazing experience. I was in an Uber, and often you get in the Uber, it's a very short conversation. Hi, John, I'm Joe. This is where we're going. And then there's not much of a conversation. But I got into the Uber, and there's this very friendly guy from Venda. And by the time that we got to the destination, which was only a 10-minute drive, we had such an awesome conversation. And when we arrived at my office, I said to him, Fixed Mobile Telecoms Block I, because he now needs to repeat that to security so he can take me in. And he repeats it to security, and he looks back at me, and as if to confirm that I hear correctly. And I said, 100%. And he says, that listen is so important. If you scramble the letters in the word listen, it reads silent. I said, we don't actually cancel the noise in our own heads and become silent to listen? And this is a question that has come up so many times that I see is asked, to what extent do we actually stop selling features and benefits and the gadgets that we do and become silent to listen to what the community that we want to sell to wants? And I think that's the key to me, is the ability to listen, and to listen very carefully, and then understand that. And yes, we can help them over the hurdle of things that they haven't thought about, but that's equally important. You need to align the why of the company selling to the why of the company you're selling to.
Brendan, let's come to you here. I'm not sure if you got that little bit, but as the cool kids say, Edouard was dropping gems on stage. He made us rethink the word listen to being silent. I never thought of it that way, but that's quite interesting. On the back of what Dr. Kruger's just mentioned, how do you go about empowering your employees, but at the same time understanding that as a business, you're part of a community? And what you do does impact those around you. How do we go about doing that? And perhaps we can pick up from Tony, and you can give us an example, because Tony was giving us examples earlier and we loved it. So perhaps if there's a success story of what you've seen in the empowerment space amongst employees, and also bringing the community with, if you can, along that journey.
Thank you. I actually have a very good story to share. We were working with a very large corporate entity in the latter part of 2020. Obviously, we were in lockdown phase. People were working from home. And so we were doing other work, and I got a session set up with the CIO of this very large financial institution. And a person who I got to admire at that point in time for his insight and his vision. And this addresses the one part of your question. What does the company do? So first of all, here we have a CIO that doesn't report to the CFO. Okay? So often in companies we see the CFO has the IT department. Okay? Big problem when we have these discussions. Doesn't work. Okay? You need the CIO, CTO to have roles on the board directly to reporting to the CEO, advising the CEO. This particular CIO was on a VC with me. He said, Ed, this is the problem. We have 22,000 people working from home at the moment. Okay. Me, I am very privileged. I have the choice of 3 fiber operators in my street. I can comfortably work from there, and so does the bulk of this organization. But I have a call center with 1,200 people who don't live in areas where there's fiber or wireless or any form of decent connectivity. We have issued them with SIMs, 3G SIMs on an APN to go off and be productive. But we cannot get the call center application to work. Doesn't work. And the thing is, I hold life policies. I hold funeral policies. People are calling in. This is COVID. People were dying at the time, and they wanted to claim against that, and my call center is on its knees. I cannot function. And now I have to get these people to come back into the office and expose themselves to the risk of COVID in the office. I want them to work from home. And I want you to think out the box, and I didn't really understand the depth, the weight of his question at that point in time. So we then engaged with the team that he assigned to us. I said, guys, right, the first thing that we need is send me the address list. Speak to HR, get me the address list. They said, oh, that's not going to work. Okay. People record their address the day that they start here, but they've moved around, so that's not going to work. I said, okay. So we went off, we wrote the app. We sent the app to them on their mobile phones. They had to react to that. We identified where they lived. So we now have dots on Google Earth. So first bit of innovation that took place there. And we said, oh my word. This is Mitchell's Plain, Langa, etc. There's no infrastructure here. Nothing. So we engaged with the local communities. We engaged with a local guy that we've worked with for many years. And we said, right, you can't build a network effectively for 500 people, 700 people, which was the balance of the fallout. But let's see how we can do this. So what we did there is we engaged with the communities. We engaged with the church leaders, the schoolmasters, the community leaders. And we said, we want to service the area. So we put them into groups and said, right, here's a church. There's 15 people around this church. If we can get connectivity to the church, we can then from there put a high site up and service that community. It was a huge community project. Everybody had to get involved. We installed wireless antennas on shacks. People said to us, that stuff won't sit there for a day. I said, it will be there forever. The people won't touch it. We've not lost one device, not one. The community, full buy-in. We got all that people who were completely disconnected from the organization to become part of the organization again. They were sitting for months at home without being effectively part of it. They couldn't do their jobs, and they were getting very frustrated. They were empowered. They were able to do their work. They could answer calls like they were sitting in a call center. If you phoned in, you would not know that they were potentially sitting in a Zozo hut. And that is the story that defines this question. So you need to empower the people. You can't, it's not just a statement. It needs to come from this guy, the CIO with a vision that says, I want to solve this problem. And I'm going to engage with people who know how to solve this problem. And walk the journey with us. It was a very difficult project. But together we made it work. And I think that's a good story to tell and to use as an example when we think about these challenges out there.
Before you go, I'm going to give the doctor a moment to breathe here. But in 30 seconds, each person, what do you want us to walk away and think about that we have not been thinking about perhaps prior to going into this conversation? Edward?
I may have a message for those who are, the large organizations, the large mobile operators in particular, large connectivity companies. So a friend of mine was in the game industry, and if anybody of you know what a bubble the game industry was, when it burst, he was looking at alternatives. What do I do next? How do I actually survive in this world? So he went to draw a couple of 100,000 rand cash, 100 rand notes, and he went into his local township and into the town, and he said, Klipboard, 100 rand. Here's 100 rand. The only thing I want to know from you, what you're going to do with it. So he handed out like 100,000 rand in 100 rand notes. So he got quite a fair feedback. The results of it was, take a guess. I'm going to buy airtime, liquor and food, in that order. Airtime, liquor, food. Do you know that the average person who uses airtime spends more on data than you and I spend on fiber at home?
Wow.
Okay? So, mobile operators, regulators, we've all seen this movie. I've watched the 5G movie for 10 years now, how it's unfolded, and there's a race to launch 5G. If anybody in the room can tell me what the business case for South Africa is for 5G, I'll be available afterwards. I really want to know. I really want to know. Here's my view of it. And for those of you who don't understand the difference in technology, where we are with LTE, 4G technology, you can have a range of up to, I think, 16 kilometers. Be away from the tower to use it. It gives you a maximum of 30 megabits per second. Okay, 5G, you need to be between 300 at max, maybe a kilometer away from the tower at extreme cases, but it's mostly short distance, 300-500 meters. And it gives you a gig. Okay, so who's it aimed for? Who's it aimed at? It's being rolled out in Sandton, Waterfall, Midrand. Okay, there's still 2 million people in South Africa that's not connected. 2 million people who do not have a mobile SIM. There's no connectivity in their town. Yet, there's 113 million active SIMs out there. Double the amount of people that live in this country. So here's a hugely disruptive technology. But who are we disrupting? And what are we doing? Have you looked at what the operators paid for the spectrum? 4 billion, I think yesterday, the day before, there was an article, there's still 5.8 billion outstanding in license fees, spectrum fees. What do you get for the 5 billion that you spent in spectrum? I tell you what you get, a receipt and an entry in the Excel spreadsheet to say, this range belongs to you. Okay? Vodacom, that's yours. That's all it says. And MTN, you're not allowed to use it, this is yours. So they each paid a couple of billion rand to promote 5G in Sandton. Okay. But the economy is not only in Sandton, the economy is countrywide. And we're not looking at those. My business is in connecting corporate branches around the country. The most difficult thing is when you get your list and you say, Lusiki, Toyando, Butterworth, getting connectivity out in those places are just nearly impossible. We are not applying the money correctly. Okay, what are we doing with 5.8 billion rand? Really, where does it go to? And 5.8 billion rand doesn't buy you the technology to roll out 5G, it gets you the license to buy the technology and to roll out the towers to roll out 5G in the areas where it's least needed.
Right.
And that is what we need to address. Disruptive technology is sometimes disruptive. And it doesn't address things. And we think in the South African context, and when I saw this opportunity, I very much wanted to relay this message that we talk about stuff, okay, and we get excited about stuff, but we forget about the whole load of people out there that's not part of our community, and we need to fix that. And we have a job to do, and that's going to start at the top. We need to apply our money correctly. Just imagine we say, take your don't pay the 5.8, connect the 2 million people that's unconnected with that money.
Yeah.
Apply it to that. Great result.